The wave that changed everything. It started as something small, so small that most people wouldn't have noticed, but Keanu Reeves did. Every morning, just as his car turned the corner onto Maple Street on the way to his film set, he would pass a narrow sidewalk lined with rose bushes and an old leaning fence. Behind that fence was a modest white house with a red mailbox and a crooked chimney. And every morning, without fail, a little girl stood on the porch wearing the same oversized yellow hoodie. She couldn't have been more than 7 years old. Her hair was always a bit messy, her shoes untied, and yet her smile was brighter than the morning sun. She waved to him, not a shy wave, not a quick one. It was a full, joyful, both hands above her head kind of wave, like she had been waiting for this moment all night. She didn't know who he was. He wasn't in costume. There were no cameras, no one else around, but her eyes lit up every time their eyes met through the window. Keanu, still adjusting to early morning shoots and long nights, began to look forward to it more than he realized. He started waking up earlier just to make sure he didn't miss her. His driver noticed it too, how Keanu would suddenly lean forward, eyes searching, face softening the moment they neared Maple Street. Then, one morning, something changed. She wasn't there. At first, Keanu thought maybe she had overslept. Maybe she had a cold. Maybe the weather kept her inside. But the sky was clear, the sun warm. Everything else on the street was as it should be, except that porch. It was empty. The next day, the same thing. And the next. By the 5th day, something strange began to weigh on Keanu's heart. He didn't know her name, didn't know her story. But the absence of her wave, it felt like a piece of his day, his life, was missing. And it hurt more than he expected. Between takes on set that week, he found his mind drifting. The director called for retakes, the script supervisor corrected him, but Keanu wasn't fully there. He kept thinking about that small porch, the girl in the yellow hoodie, and why she had suddenly disappeared. Finally, on a Sunday morning when he had no work scheduled, he made a decision. He asked his driver to take him back to Maple Street. No cameras, no sunglasses, no one following. He just wanted to make sure she was okay. The street was quiet, birds chirping in the distance. He walked up to the White House slowly. The roses beside the gate had begun to wilt. He noticed that the red mailbox had several letters sticking out, uncollected. Something about that made his chest tighten. He knocked gently on the door. No answer. He tried again. Just as he was about to leave, the door creaked open. But it wasn't the girl. It was a frail woman with dark circles under her eyes, wearing an old bathrobe. Her face was tired, her voice barely above a whisper. "Can I help you?" she asked. Keanu hesitated for a moment, unsure of how to explain himself. "Hi, I used to pass by this house on my way to work. There was a girl who used to wave. She hasn't been there lately. I just wanted to check if everything's all right." Her eyes widened, her lips trembled. "You're him," she said quietly. "You're the man she talks about, the man in the car." Keanu felt a lump form in his throat. "Is she okay?" The woman didn't speak for a moment, then she stepped aside. "Please, come in." He entered the small home. The living room was filled with drawings, most of them childlike portraits of a man in a black car waving back to a little girl. Some of the pages had stickers, others had sparkles. On the table sat a picture of a girl smiling next to a stuffed rabbit with one ear missing. It was her. And in every drawing, he was there too. "Her name is Mia," the woman said softly. "She's my daughter. She's been sick. We just found out 2 weeks ago. Leukemia. We've been in and out of the hospital. She got weak so fast." Keanu sat down slowly, eyes glued to the drawings. "I didn't think anyone noticed her," the woman said, tears rolling down her cheeks. "But she waited for you every morning, said you were her favorite part of the day. She made up stories about you, said you were a secret superhero, that your wave gave her magic strength." Keanu's heart broke. She stopped going, Outside, the woman added. She didn't want you to see her when she was bald and when she couldn't stand anymore. Keanu clenched his fists. Where is she now? In the hospital, the mother replied. She's been asking about you every morning. She thinks she upset you, thinks maybe she waved wrong. He stood up. Can you take me to her? The woman stared at him, shocked. What? I want to see her, he said, gently but firmly. I owe her a wave. And a lot more. They drove together in silence to the children's hospital. The hallways were painted with cheerful murals, but there was an eerie quietness that clung to the air. When they reached her room, the mother paused at the door. She doesn't have good days anymore, she said. But maybe today. Keanu stepped inside. Mia was lying on the bed, tiny and pale. Her hair was gone. Tubes and machines surrounded her. She was looking at the window, weak eyes searching the sky. A drawing rested beside her, another picture of him waving. He walked slowly to the bed and knelt beside her. Hey, Mia, he said softly. Sorry I'm late. Her eyes widened. At first she didn't believe it. She blinked several times, and then a slow, tired smile formed on her face. You came, she whispered. Of course I came, he said, gently holding her hand. You didn't wave for a few days. I thought maybe you were tired of seeing me. She giggled just a little. It sounded like hope. I didn't want you to see me like this, she whispered. Not when I look like a potato. Keanu chuckled, though his eyes were wet. You look like the bravest superhero I've ever seen, and trust me, I've seen a lot. She smiled again, and this time it reached her eyes. For the next hour, they talked. She told him all the stories she had made up about him. He promised to come back to read to her, to bring his favorite comic books. And before he left, she asked him something simple. Can you wave just once? Keanu stood by the door, turned around and gave her the biggest, silliest, most magical wave he could manage. Both arms, big smile, just like she used to do. Her laugh echoed in the room. But as he walked back into the hallway, something in the doctor's face stopped him. She's stronger today, the doctor said. But you should know it's only temporary. She's in late stage, a few weeks, maybe less. Keanu's heart felt heavy, but he looked back at the room where a little girl was now smiling in her sleep. Then I'll be here every day, he said quietly, for every single wave she ever gave me. Whispers in the hallway. The next morning, Keanu Reeves didn't go to his film set. The production crew called, confused and slightly panicked, but he calmly asked them to carry on without him for the day. He said something had come up, something more important. No one questioned him after that. Instead of sitting in a makeup chair or rehearsing lines, he found himself walking once again through the pale, quiet corridors of Children's Mercy Hospital. In his hand was a worn copy of his favorite childhood book, its corners frayed from years of rereading. It wasn't fancy or expensive, but it meant something, and he hoped it would mean something to Mia too. As he stepped into her room, he saw her eyes flutter open. Her face lit up when she saw him, as if her pain dulled just a little by the sight of the man she had once only seen through a car window. Her voice was even softer than before, but it still carried that same playful tone. You came back, she whispered. I told you I would, he said, pulling up a chair beside her bed. And this time, I brought a story. They spent hours reading. She laughed at the funny voices he used. She corrected him when he skipped a word. He didn't notice the nurses peeking through the glass door, smiling behind their masks. Word had spread quickly. Everyone knew who he was now, but more importantly, they knew why he was here. And none of them had ever seen anything quite like it. After the third visit, he started coming even on days he was needed on set, sometimes early in the morning, sometimes late at night. If he had to, he would stay in the hospital lounge between scenes. The staff gave him a badge, unofficially calling him Uncle Keanu. He brought puzzles, comics, a tiny hand puppet. He found in a thrift shop anything to keep Mia smiling, but beneath the joy of those moments, something darker began to stir. Keanu noticed it first in the hallway. He had stepped out to get some water when he heard two nurses whispering near the supply room. They were speaking in hushed voices too low for most people to notice, but his years of learning lines had trained his ears to pick up every syllable. Did you see the chart update? Yeah, but we can't say anything. They're still waiting on the waiver. I know, but it's so wrong. She should have started the second round already. They're stalling. Insurance said it's out of network. Protocol. The words twisted in Keanu's gut. He stepped away before they noticed him. His mind spun. He didn't want to jump to conclusions, but something about the tone in their voices and the worry in their eyes didn't sit right. He returned to Mia's room, her tiny fingers gripping a coloring pencil as she tried to stay awake. She smiled up at him, but her breathing was heavier than before. Tired? He asked. She nodded. Just a little. The nurse said no more chemo today. Maybe tomorrow. That was when his heart sank. He didn't know much about medicine, but he knew that consistency mattered. That cancer didn't wait politely for insurance paperwork. That treatment delays could mean the difference between life and death. He stayed with her until she fell asleep, then quietly left the room. Instead of heading home, he walked straight to the nurse's station. Who's in charge of Mia's care? He asked calmly. The head nurse looked up from her chart. Dr. Feldman, pediatric oncology. He's in today. I need to speak with him, Keanu said. Now. She hesitated for a moment, sensing the seriousness in his tone. Then she made the call. 10 minutes later, Keanu was sitting in a small conference room across from a balding man in a blue coat with deep wrinkles on his forehead. Dr. Feldman looked exhausted. Mr. Reeves, he began. I admire your commitment to Maya. We've all seen how much brighter she is when you're around. But I understand you have concerns? Keanu didn't waste time. I overheard staff saying her treatment is being delayed. Something about insurance? Is that true? The doctor looked down, choosing his words carefully. Unfortunately, yes. Mia was originally covered under a basic state healthcare plan. Due to a clerical issue, her current status is listed as inactive. Without an override or update, we can't legally administer her second round of chemotherapy without risking a lawsuit. I've tried reaching out to the proper channels, but... Keanu raised a hand. How long would the delay be? Another 2 to 3 weeks, maybe more. And what happens if she doesn't get it now? The doctor was quiet. Then he looked up, his eyes filled with sadness. Her chances will drop, significantly. Keanu sat there, his jaw clenched. Then he spoke, each word like a promise carved in stone. What's the cost of the treatment? Out of pocket. Around $75,000, the doctor replied. But the hospital won't accept it unless... Keanu pulled out his phone. I'll pay it. All of it. Today. The doctor blinked in shock. Mr. Reeves, I don't think you understand how complicated the system is. It's not just the payment, it's about the approvals, the liability, I don't care, Keanu said. Get your legal team. Get your ethics board. Whatever it takes. I'll sign the waivers. I'll take full responsibility. Just don't let her die waiting for a fax. The room fell silent. And in that silence, something shifted. Later that evening, Keanu sat beside Mia again. She was barely awake, the strain of the day weighing on her small frame. But when he gently placed a soft cap over her bald head, a cap decorated with cartoon stars and galaxies, she smiled faintly. Thank you, she whispered. For what? He asked. For waving, she said. He squeezed her hand gently, knowing full well she had no idea the battle he was now fighting for her outside that room. But the next morning, he received a call from a private number. When he answered, a voice on the other end said something that would ignite a deeper mystery. Mr. Reeves, we know about your visit. Please stop asking questions about Mia's file. This is bigger than one girl. For your own good, let it go. He stood in silence, staring at his reflection in the hospital glass window. They weren't just delaying treatment. Someone wanted this to stay buried. The shadow behind the curtain, Keanu Reeves, didn't sleep that night. After the strange call, his thoughts churned like a storm trapped behind glass. The voice on the other end had been calm. almost too calm. It didn't threaten him directly. It didn't mention names or demands. But the message was clear. Stop digging. Leave it alone. Let the silence settle back in. But Keanu couldn't. As he sat by his window watching the Los Angeles skyline blink into darkness, his mind kept going back to Mia's tired face, to the drawings stacked beside her hospital bed, and to her quiet whisper, "Thank you for waving." There was an innocence in that little girl that deserved to be protected, not just from disease, but from the people who used red tape and broken systems as excuses to let children suffer. The more he thought about it, the clearer it became. This wasn't just about one girl's treatment. It was about all the kids in that ward, and who might be making decisions that valued money more than lives. The next morning, Keanu returned to the hospital earlier than the nurse's shift change. He moved quietly through the halls wearing a gray hoodie pulled low and sunglasses even though the morning light had barely broken. He wasn't here as a movie star. He was here as a man trying to understand why a hospital would risk a little girl's life over paperwork. He stopped by the nurse's station and gave a polite smile to Nurse Rosa, one of the only staff members he truly trusted now. "Rosa," he said softly, "I need your help. Off the record." She looked at him for a moment, then nodded slowly. "What do you need?" "Anything you can tell me about who handles the insurance clearance files, who approves delays, who signs off when treatments are postponed." Rosa glanced around to make sure no one was listening. Then she leaned in and whispered, "Most of that goes through a department called Fiscal Operations. The head's name is James Delling. He doesn't work inside the hospital. He's part of the partner firm, MediTrust Financial. They oversee funding and approvals, everything from the cost of medication to what gets billed per patient." Keanu frowned. "So he's not even a doctor?" "No," she said, "but he has the power to block a child's treatment." Keanu's fists clenched. "How do I meet him?" "You don't," she said. "He's never here. Operates out of a tower, downtown, but..." She hesitated, then scribbled something on a post-it note and handed it to him. "This is the address of someone who used to work under him. Her name's Anna Zhou, billing analyst. She quit 6 months ago and left in tears. No one ever said why." Keanu looked at the note, then at Rosa. "Thank you. Be careful," she said. "What you're doing, it's not safe. Hospitals like this with private contractors running the money side, they protect their own." He nodded and left. That afternoon, instead of heading to set or returning to the hospital, Keanu drove alone to a quiet street in Silver Lake. He found the apartment building with peeling paint and a rusted gate. He rang the buzzer for Anna Zhou. No answer. He tried again. Nothing. Just as he was about to leave, he heard footsteps behind him. A young woman with tired eyes and a messenger bag over her shoulder stood there, looking surprised. "You're Keanu Reeves," she said flatly, turned and gave a small smile. "I'm looking for Anna Zhou, are you?" "I was," she said, brushing past him. "But I don't do that anymore. Whatever this is about, I'm not interested." He followed her to the stairs. "This is about Mia, a little girl with leukemia. She hasn't received her second round of chemo because her status is inactive. You worked for the people who make that call. I just want to know why." She paused halfway up the stairs. Her shoulders tensed. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "Do you have any idea how many lawyers MediTrust keeps on retainer? They'll bury you in paperwork until you forget why you even cared." Keanu took a breath. "Then tell me now, while you still can. What are they hiding?" Anna stared at him. Then she slowly walked back down and opened the apartment door. Inside, the place was small but clean. Boxes were stacked in the corner. A coffee table was cluttered with envelopes she hadn't opened in weeks. She motioned for him to sit. "When I first joined MediTrust," she began, "I believed we were helping hospitals operate efficiently, cutting costs, optimizing budgets. I didn't realize we were cutting kids." Keanu listened intently. "There's a list," she said. "An internal ranking system they use. It's called QDEX, stands for Quality Dependency Exchange. Basically, it measures how much a patient's recovery is worth compared to their cost of treatment. Kids like Maya, late stage, low income, high risk, they get flagged red. Red means delay if possible. The system builds in excuses to stretch treatment times, so fewer resources are used. It's all automated now. Some analyst somewhere probably clicked one button and her life got put on hold. Keanu was speechless. I couldn't do it anymore, Anna said, her voice cracking. One day, I saw a file for a boy who died during a treatment delay. When I asked questions, they froze my account and reassigned my cases. I packed my things and left. But I still get letters. Warnings. Keanu leaned forward. I want the files, proof, records of these flags. Can you help me? She hesitated, then nodded. I can access some of it, not from here but from a backup drive. It's hidden in my old office files in storage. Give me a day. Keanu thanked her, then left quietly. Back at the hospital, Mia was getting worse. Her breathing had grown shallow. She had moments where she didn't wake up for hours. Her mother tried to stay strong, but the tears were starting to fall openly now. When Keanu entered her room that evening, he knelt by her bed. Her eyelids fluttered. Guess what? He said softly. I found a secret code. QDEX. It's why they're slowing down your medicine. She didn't fully understand, but she smiled faintly. Did you bring the duck puppet? She asked. He nodded and held it up. He made it do a silly dance, and for just a moment her laugh returned. But that night, as he sat beside her while she slept, the machines began to beep. Alarms. Nurses rushed in. Her oxygen dropped. They stabilized her. Barely. Keanu stepped, back, his heart pounding. The doctor turned to him. We're running out of time, he said. If she doesn't get treatment soon... Keanu nodded slowly. She will. But even as he said it, something inside him knew. He was running out of time too. And the people he was up against weren't just hiding delays. They were hiding lives. Erased like she never existed, Keanu Reeves stood in front of Anna Jo's apartment building the next morning, holding a small paper bag of breakfast pastries she probably would have laughed at. He'd bought too many. He rang the buzzer again. No response. He waited, checked his watch, then knocked on her door. Silence. His phone buzzed. He answered, thinking it might be her. Hello? But there was only static, then a click. He tried knocking one more time, before deciding to check with the building manager. After slipping into the dim lobby, he found the landlord's office tucked behind a glass window coated in dust. The old man inside looked up from his crossword puzzle. Looking for Anna Jo, Keanu said politely. She lives upstairs. She was supposed to meet me. The man squinted. Jo? That unit's been empty for 2 weeks. Keanu blinked. That can't be right. I spoke to her yesterday. The landlord shrugged. Look, buddy, I just collect rent. Someone came by last week from some corporate thing. Said they were clearing her stuff out. Everything's gone. No keys, no mail. They even changed the locks. Must have broken the lease. Keanu stepped back, confused and suddenly uneasy. Do you remember who cleared it out? Any name? Left. A card on my desk for a few minutes, the man muttered, opening a drawer. Didn't keep it. Guy wore a black jacket. Nice car. Didn't look like no mover. A cold weight settled in Keanu's chest. He rushed upstairs and found the door to Anna's apartment, now sealed with a new bolt. He tried calling her phone. The number you have dialed is not in service, he texted. The message turned green, blocked or erased. He drove straight to the storage unit address Anna had scribbled on a notepad during their meeting. It was a self-storage warehouse near downtown, row after row of metal doors and numbers. He walked to Unit 127, where she said her old backup drives were kept. The lock had been cut. He pulled the door up slowly. Empty. Not a single box. Not even dust marks. Anna had vanished. No digital trail. No voicemail. Nothing. And in that moment, it hit him. They were cleaning up. Not just hiding documents, but people. Whoever ran the QDEX system didn't want exposure. They had reach. They had access. And now they knew he wasn't going away quietly. But what they didn't know was who they were messing with. He returned to the hospital that afternoon with a sharper focus. He passed the nurses, nodded at Rosa, then stepped into Mia's room. Her mother was holding her hand, tears running silently down her cheeks. Mia was unconscious, pale. Her fingers barely moved when Keanu knelt beside her. "I brought a new story today," he whispered, trying to keep his voice calm, "about a girl who lived in a hospital and how she saved the world." He opened the book but couldn't read it. The words blurred through his tears. He squeezed her hand gently. "I'm not going to let you disappear," he said, barely, louder than a breath. When her mother stepped out to speak with the doctor, Keanu made a decision. He walked into the hallway, pulled out his phone, and called someone he hadn't spoken to in years. A man named Elliot Pierce. A war journalist turned independent investigator. Elliot had spent a decade uncovering corruption in the pharmaceutical industry. He wasn't famous, but he was dangerous. To the right people. They'd met once at a fundraiser in New York. Keanu had donated to a clinic Elliot had exposed in Syria. They weren't friends, but they respected each other. "Elliot," Keanu said, "I need your help. Reeves, this is a surprise. A little girl named Mia is dying. A company called MediTrust is using a system called QDex to delay treatment for kids like her. They're wiping out files. People are disappearing. I need to find out how deep this goes, and I need to do it now." There was a pause. "Send me everything you have," Elliot said. "I'll get back to you in 24 hours. By nightfall, Keanu was back in his apartment, sorting through everything Anna had told him, trying to recreate her steps. He wrote down key names: James Delling, fiscal operations, QDex, patient flags, red status, delayed chemo. He searched online databases, public records, hospital contracts. Most files were sealed, but he wasn't giving up. Just before midnight, Elliot texted, "Meet me, now. Bring no one." They met in an underground garage near Venice. Elliot handed him a flash drive and a folder. "I traced a leaked software update pushed to hospitals using MediTrust," Elliot said. "It connects to an encrypted server under a shell company based in Panama. The QDex software isn't approved by the FDA. It's experimental. Technically illegal." Keanu flipped through the folder. Hundreds of child patient IDs, color-coded lists, treatment deferrals, cost analyses, survival score projections. "How is this even real?" Keanu whispered. "They use it to manage funding," Elliot said. "To make sure low-return patients don't drain the pool. It's all about profit. This isn't just happening in Los Angeles. I found similar flags in hospitals across 5 states. Keanu stared at him. "We have to go public." Elliot hesitated. "You do that, and they'll come after you. Hard. You're risking your career, maybe more." "I don't care," Keanu said. "They already tried to erase Anna. Mia doesn't have time, and neither do all the other kids on that list." The next day, Keanu walked straight into the hospital with the folder in hand. He marched past reception, past staff, straight into the hospital director's office. The man behind the desk stood up in shock. "Mr. Reeves, what is this?" Keanu dropped the folder on his desk. "This is everything. QDex, red flags, delayed treatments, kids dying while you cash checks. Either you stop it or I go public, with names, dates, files, and your signature on every approval." The director's face turned pale. This is complicated," he stammered. "No," Keanu said, staring him down. "It's simple. You either treat Mia now, or you're going to see your face on every screen in this country by morning." By sundown, Mia's second round of treatment began. Her mother cried when they wheeled in the medication. Keanu stood by her side, hand resting gently on her shoulder, but he knew this was only a battle. The war had just begun, and as he left the hospital that night, a black car followed him 3 blocks before vanishing into traffic. The flash drive and the fire Keanu Reeves stood frozen in his apartment doorway, eyes locked on the small, unmarked package cradled in his hands. He had opened it casually at first, thinking it might be something from the hospital, a thank you letter, maybe a gift from a child or fan. But inside, there was no letter, no explanation, just a black flash drive. and beneath it, folded carefully, a photograph. He unfolded it slowly and his heart dropped. Anna Jo. She was alive, but barely. Her hands were tied to a metal chair in what looked like a storage room. Her face was bruised, lips cracked, one eye swollen shut. But she was looking straight at the camera. Not pleading, not crying, just staring, like she knew exactly who this photo would reach. Taped to the back of the photo was a single slip of paper with 6 chilling words. Stop, or she dies next. Keanu sank into the couch, staring at the flash drive like it might explode. This wasn't just corporate bullying anymore. This was something darker, something calculated. The kind of threat that left no fingerprints, no traces, only fear. They weren't trying to discredit him. They were trying to break him, to make him back down without lifting another finger. And for a brief moment he considered it. He had the power to walk away, to delete the folder, disappear, go back to acting, back to peace. Anna was suffering because of his digging. And Mia, though barely stable, had received her treatment. He had already won a battle. But then he thought of the names in Elliot's folder. Hundreds of children, silent, invisible, unknowing victims. He closed his eyes, whispered a breath, and made a choice. He would not stop. He texted Elliot with 3 words. They have Anna. Within 20 minutes, Elliot was at his apartment. He examined the flash drive carefully, using a small, shielded laptop he carried for sensitive data. Keanu watched him from across the room, a storm building behind his eyes. This is sophisticated, Elliot muttered. Whoever sent this didn't just want to scare you, they wanted to test you. Keanu frowned. Test me how? They left this drive unencrypted. That's not a mistake. They wanted you to see what's on it. He inserted the drive. Dozens of files appeared. Some were labeled with patient codes, others with financial ledgers, internal memos, surveillance footage. One folder simply read, QDEX priority level black. Inside it, 8 names, all children under the age of 10, all marked as black clearance, and all marked deceased, with footnotes stating natural cause. Treatment paused due to administrative error. Keanu's hand tightened into a fist. They let them die. Elliot nodded. These are the ones we know of. Multiply this by every hospital that contracts with MediTrust and you're looking at something the media hasn't even imagined yet. Then Keanu saw something else. A file named Z814. OPSEC movie clicked it. The video opened with static. Then a dimly lit room appeared. Concrete walls, a rusted metal table. Anna Jo was sitting there, a shadowy figure just outside the camera's edge asking questions in a cold, flat voice. Who else have you spoken to? I told you, Anna croaked. Only Keanu. I gave him the backup file. Where is the original database? I don't know. They cleared my account before I could copy it. You're lying, a slap echoed. Anna coughed. Keanu reached over and slammed the laptop shut. I'm getting her back. Elliot grabbed his arm. This isn't a movie, Keanu. These people play for keeps. They'll kill her if you rush in. Then I won't rush, Keanu said, voice steady but burning. I'll plan. He spent the next day working with Elliot to trace the source of the video upload. The metadata had been scrubbed clean, but a pattern in the IP logs led them to a building on the edge of the city. A private contractor warehouse registered under a fake company name, Strand Operations. It was guarded, fenced, and heavily monitored. Keanu called someone else he trusted, a woman named Victoria Yoon. She used to work for the government, nobody knew exactly in what department, but she owed Keanu a favor. The kind of favor that didn't come with small print. They met at a small coffee shop just after midnight. Victoria wore a coat that looked too light for the cold but didn't seem to care. I need surveillance, Keanu said, handing her the address. They have someone inside, a whistleblower. I want to get her out, safe. Victoria studied the paper. I'll send a drone, heat signatures. If she's in there, we'll find her. And if they move her, we track them. Within hours, Victoria's team had footage. They counted 4 guards. One of them carried a stun baton. Another walked with a limp. They moved in rotation. And in the far corner of the warehouse, There was a locked room with a single body signature inside. Anna. She was alive. Barely. But alive. Keanu took a breath. I'm going in. You'll need gear, Victoria said. Just give me the timing, Keanu replied. That night, just after 2 a.m., under the cover of low fog and silence, Keanu entered the warehouse grounds with Elliot watching from a parked van 2 blocks away and Victoria's drone providing a live thermal feed overhead. He slipped past the fence using shadows and blind spots to stay invisible. He had no weapon, only a crowbar and a flashlight. But his steps were calm, calculated. Every second mattered. Every breath had purpose. Inside, he disabled one guard with a silent chokehold. The second was distracted by a flicker from a loose fuse box Victoria had hacked from outside. Keanu slipped into the hallway leading to the back room. He found the door, padlocked. He pried it open. And there she was. Anna slumped in the chair, barely conscious. When he whispered her name, her eyes fluttered. You came, she said weakly. I'm getting you out. He lifted her into his arms and began retracing his steps, only to find the hallway filled with noise. The guards were alert now. Elliot's voice buzzed in his ear. They're on to you. Move fast. Keanu ducked through a side exit, using crates and machinery for cover. Victoria's drone sent rapid directions through his headset. Left, right, wait, now go. Adrenaline pumped through his body like fire. As he reached the back fence, headlights flared. A black SUV roared to life and gave chase. He didn't stop. He cleared the fence with Anna cradled against him, legs screaming with effort. Elliot opened the van door just in time. They sped off into the night, hearts pounding. When they reached the safe house, Anna was stabilized, bruised, dehydrated, but safe. Keanu sat in the corner of the room, eyes dark. They wanted her gone, he said. They knew the evidence she carried. But they made a mistake. What mistake? Elliot asked. Keanu looked up. They threatened someone who has nothing left to lose. Through fire we rise. It was 4:37 a.m. when the emergency call came through. The fire had started in the west wing of Children's Mercy Hospital. Within minutes, the entire building was on high alert. Alarms screamed through the halls. Flashing, red lights painted panic across white walls. Doctors shouted orders. Nurses moved patients. The smell of smoke wasn't just in the air. It was in the bones of the building, thick and fast. Keanu Reeves was jolted awake by a message from Rosa, the nurse he trusted most. Hospital fire, West Wing. They locked the pediatric wing. Mia's still inside. He stared at the words, his mind blank for a second. Then instinct kicked in. He didn't wait for a driver. Didn't put on his coat. He grabbed his keys and ran. Sirens howled across the city as fire trucks raced toward the burning hospital. But Keanu got there first. Smoke curled into the sky. Flames licked the edge of the pediatric floor's third-story windows. And behind those flames was Mia. The crowd was being held back by barricades and shouting security. Families screamed. Some were weeping. Staff scrambled with stretchers and oxygen tanks. And then Keanu pushed through. He ran straight to Rosa, who was coughing near the emergency exit. Her eyes widened when she saw him. They shut the stairwell, she gasped. Security override. The pediatric hall's locked down. No one can get in. Who did it? He demanded. She shook her head. I don't know, someone hacked the fire system. It's not responding. Sprinklers aren't activating. They wanted this. Keanu didn't wait. He ran toward the side of the building where he had once entered quietly to visit Mia in the middle of the night. The staff entrance had no fire, yet he knew every step of that hallway now, every shortcut. The place that had once been a sanctuary of healing was now a death trap, and someone had designed it that way. He kicked the side door in, smoke rushing to greet him like a wall. He pulled his shirt over his mouth, crouched low, and moved fast. The heat was unbearable, but he didn't stop. On the third floor, the hallway leading to the pediatric ward was lit in red, the exit signs flickering, the door to the wing sealed tight. But it wasn't mechanical. Someone had physically chained it shut from the outside with a security latch. He grabbed a nearby fire extinguisher and slammed it against the chain again and again until the metal snapped. The door groaned open. Inside was chaos, children crying, nurses trapped. One orderly had passed out from smoke inhalation. But amidst it all, he saw her, Maya, curled in her bed, coughing weakly, clutching her stuffed rabbit to her chest. He rushed to her, sweeping her into his arms. Her eyes fluttered open. "You came," she whispered. "Always," he said, wrapping her tight. He guided as many children as he could toward the stairwell now freed of the chain. He carried Mia down 3 flights of smoke and flame, never letting go, never looking back. When he burst through the side exit, medics rushed in with oxygen masks and stretchers. The crowd gasped. People began shouting, "That's Keanu Reeves. He carried her out." "There are more inside." Firefighters pushed past him. The alarm system finally sparked to life, delayed, suspiciously. But the damage had been done. The west wing collapsed. Keanu fell to his knees in the parking lot, covered in ash, his lungs burning. But Mia was safe in his arms, breathing. Her mother collapsed beside them, sobbing. A news crew arrived moments later, drawn by emergency signals. Cameras rolled, and without planning it, the world saw something raw, something unfiltered. Keanu Reeves in smoke-stained clothes, cradling a child against his chest, whispering, "You're safe now." Within hours, the video spread like wildfire, and with it, so did the truth. Elliot and Victoria had already uploaded the files. The proof of MediTrust's QDex program, the illegal blacklisting of terminal children, the manipulated treatment delays, the forged documents. Anna, now safe under government protection, gave a full sworn statement. Keanu went public. Not in a press room, not in a studio, but standing outside the charred remains of the hospital, with his hand resting gently on Mia's shoulder as she stood beside him in a wheelchair. "This little girl waved to me every morning from her porch," he said to the cameras. "She didn't know who I was, but her wave, it meant something. It reminded me what kindness looks like when it's pure. So when she stopped waving, I found out why, and what I found was bigger than I ever expected." He exposed the system, named the names, detailed how companies had created algorithms that chose profits over children's lives. People listened, because it wasn't just data, it was Mia, and they had seen her pulled from the fire. Governors demanded investigations. The Department of Justice issued subpoenas. MediTrust's headquarters was raided. James Delling, the man behind the QDex system, fled the country, only to be caught trying to board a flight under a fake passport. The entire Board of Fiscal Operations was indicted within 2 weeks. Funds were redirected to rebuild the hospital, with full transparency and new leadership. And Mia? She survived. Her treatment continued, fully funded. The doctors, now free of bureaucratic restraints, poured their efforts into her recovery. Her hair began to grow back. Her smile returned. And every morning when the sun rose, she waited by the window of her new room and waved to every car that passed, just in case. Keanu visited her every week. He brought her books, stories, and once, even a puppy. She named it Blaze. Months later, the hospital hosted a rededication ceremony. Keanu stood on stage with Mia, who walked shakily up beside him, holding his hand. Thousands watched. Millions more on television. But in that moment, all he cared about was the little girl beside him. "We're here today," he said, "because a system failed the very people it was meant to protect. But we're also here because one voice, even a small one, can spark a fire that burns through corruption. Sometimes that voice is a whisper from a hospital bed. Sometimes it's a wave from a porch." He turned to Mia and smiled. "And sometimes, it's just a girl in a yellow hoodie reminding the world how to be human again." The crowd rose. Tears, cheers, applause. But for Keanu, the real reward wasn't the recognition. It was the small, warm hand gripping his. The wave that had once stopped was back, and this time it wasn't just for him, it was for the whole world.